So we will be discussing now and understanding the impact of earthquakes in civil engineering. This is a continued discussion on earthquake engineering for CA53. How do earthquakes affect construction? If earthquakes will occur, the soil where the structure is erected can turn loose, making it into a liquid form. This is the process called liquefaction, as what you can see in the photo here. Then, when liquefaction will happen, it will erode the base of your foundations and supports of the structure, causing it to collapse. So, as what you can see, the building is already affected because the soil underneath is already in the liquid form. How can civil engineers help lessen the damages caused by earthquakes? First thing for civil engineers to consider in minimizing the damages caused by earthquakes is to build against earthquake shocks. This can happen by knowing where are the faulting and seismic zones of the area. So later in our discussions, we will be talking about where are the faulting and seismic zones in the Philippines. And then next thing to consider is to use base isolators for your building, which will isolate the base of the structure from the Earth's movement. As what you can see here in the image, the conventional structure would be something like this, wherein the foundation is just erected straight directly into the ground. However, for a structure with seismic isolation, you can see here the base isolators. There are many kind of base isolators. It could be a spring or it could be rollers made of huge steel ball. Um, Later in our discussions, we will also dig deeper into how seismic isolation will be done. Also, some structures, especially if these are tall buildings, they are using pendulum to balance the weight if shaking will happen. And another thing is if the main reason of high-rise buildings like condominiums and hotels, why they are putting swimming pools on top of the building is because the water in the swimming pool itself will counteract the movement during the shaking of the earthquake. So it will act the same purpose as a seismic isolator or the base isolator. Next is what is earthquake safety? This is applicable to anybody, not only for civil engineers. First is you need to drop to the ground and take anything to cover yourself. Then always protect your head. Stay away from stay away from any glass and falling fixtures. Do not use elevators if you are in a high-rise building. Then it's safe to stay outside in an open ground, but do not attempt to go out in the building during shaking. Then watch for anything connected with electricity because anything can happen related to electricity during earthquake. Next is how do earthquake affect the earth? Aside from ground movements or the shaking, other effects that we can expect that earthquake can do towards our planet is the flow of groundwater or the increase of flow. There could be flood that will happen, then landslides, and then mud flows. So literally, it can do significant damage to any kind of structures and can even cause death to humans and animals. As what you can see here in the photo, there's a landslide happening from the mountainside and then totally covering the households that is directly affected of the catastrophe. Then, what is earthquake in civil engineering? So, an earthquake or seismic engineer always aims to construct structures that will not be damaged in minor shaking and will avoid serious damage or collapse in a major earthquake. Mm, Literally speaking, we cannot really prevent earthquake to happen, but at least as a civil engineer with the knowledge of earthquake design, especially if you will study further into being an earthquake engineer or seismic engineer, then you can really do a bigger job in avoiding or not avoiding in minimizing the after effect or the serious damages that could happen to the structure to avoid these major accidents and then major situations that can really even cause death to um, people, and then of course to avoid the total collapse of a structure that you are designing. So that is all. You can check further on our next discussion.